the reality is these are the key things that it means to develop people. Welcome back to Thursday's Thoughts with Terry today. I'm grateful that you're joining me. As you can see in the title, we're talking about developing people today. That's my thought. Last week we dealt with a boss versus a leader. Today I want to talk about developing people because I really believe that true leadership is all about the development of somebody else rather than yourself. Come on, that's pretty good. And so I just want to talk about it today. Before I do, hit the share button if this helps you. Give me a comment, give me an emoji, whatever that is. Let me know this is helping you. If I can do anything for you, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be glad to sit down, have a coffee, talk, do whatever I can do for you or your team today. Hey, let's jump into it. Developing people today. It's my content, and I want to just talk about it just for a little bit because the reality of leadership is that we develop people. We help people become the best version of themselves. I really believe that when we compare ourselves to somebody else, we're limiting ourselves, our own personality, our own character of who we are, what we were designed to do. We're not meant to emulate somebody else every single thing they do. Now, there's a Bible verse that says, follow me or imitate me as I follow Christ. That imitate just means, hey, the things that I do them, but do them in your own personality. Do them the way you would do them. Go how you would go and be you. You do you, I'm going to do me. I believe that's what it's talking about. And I want to talk to you about leaders really develop people. The word develop means to grow or cause to grow or cause to become mature. And I think that's the key about develop. It means to cause, not make. So many times I hear people say, well, I made that person or I made that leader or I didn't. No. That make is what I did, and I can't make a leader, but I can develop people into leadership. And there's a huge difference in that. Leaders don't make people, leaders cause, or leaders develop leaders. Well, that's one of our goals in life is we have to develop people. We have to be willing to put in the work as leaders to develop somebody else, to cause them to grow, to become more mature. I think about this. Sometimes people think maturity is defined by longevity. Longevity does not make you a mature person. I think about the Christian mindset. Maybe some of you all joining me, you don't go to church, you don't consider yourself religious, whatever that looks like to you. The reality is longevity is not maturity. Just because you've been in a church for 20 years, don't make you a mature Christian. Come on, somebody. Just because you've been a boss for 15 years doesn't make you a mature boss or leader. It just means you've been in the position or you've been there. Maturity is not defined in longevity. Maturity is defined in the growth of the individual emotionally, how we handle situations, how we respond to things. That's what maturity really comes from and looks like, in my opinion. And I really think sometimes we think that because you've been there a long time, you should be better than you are. The reality is people aren't going to be better unless you help cause or develop them to become better as the leader. Amen. And so today I want to talk about development. There's two things about development. Here's the things that we have to embrace and understand. Number one is that you have to celebrate the victories. That's part of developing. And that's the easy part of leading. That's the easy part of developing people is celebrating the victories. That's the easy part. That's kind of like, yes, my boy did it. Yes, he did it. He did a great job. Yes, he was successful. That's great. The other aspect of developing people is simply this, embracing the responsibility from the failures. See, as the leader, everything that my team does around me, every failure they make and every success they make, I have to take the responsibility for that. It's easy to be responsible for the successes. It's also easy in the failures to cast blame on the person that did it, why they failed. The reality of true leadership is embracing the victory, yes, but also looking at the failure and say, okay, we own this together. Now let's pull this thing up to the side and let's figure out how we fix that together. Because ultimately that person made decisions that I, as a leader, let's just talk about me in that mindset. That person made the decision and it failed under my delegated authority to them in leadership. And so I have to own that responsibility. The problem with developing people, from what I see in a lot of other leaders, is they're afraid to allow the mistake. They're afraid to allow for somebody to fall flat on their face. And honestly, we have to allow people to fail. We have to honestly allow people to make those mistakes. Probably not like business ending or church closing mistakes, but simple mistakes that are not going to make or break you. They're not going to make or break your business or your church. You have to see it, know they're going to fail, allow them to fail, because then in that failure, you can teach them. Listen, you and I would not be who we are if it wasn't for our many mistakes. Thomas Edison is one of my favorite guys that I go to in leadership. They asked him, how did it feel to fail 1,000 times? And he said, I've never failed. Now, you would think about that. 1,000 times it didn't work, you would think that it's a failure. But that was the question. He answered, it wasn't that I failed, it was that I found 1,000 ways that it didn't work. But we celebrate the light bulb today. It's all around me. You see them, just the effects of the lights around me. It's off my computer screen. What he figured out after 1,000 times, we celebrate that today. Most people never will understand the mistake after the success, but it's the mistakes and those failures that really define the leader. So we have to allow people to do that. In allowing people to fail, that's where trust is developed. People need to feel trusted and able to grow through trust. If they don't feel trusted, then they will never make the mistake. They'll hesitate in everything they do. They'll hesitate to be successful. They'll hesitate to put their personality and their character on a thing and in their personal life. They'll hesitate without trust. Trust is the number one factor that it is required to develop people. I trust you no matter what happens. I believe in you and I trust you. I want to help you with this. Trust is what causes them to become who they are. Here's what it looks like. It's allowing their fingerprint to be on the success and their fingerprint being on the failure. It's what trust does. The fingerprint, nobody else has mine. Nobody else has my fingerprint. So if I touch something, they can find me by my fingerprint. It's the same thing in life. We all have a fingerprint. The way we do things, the way we lead, the way we make decisions, all of that is a fingerprint. And we have to allow people in development to put their fingerprint on certain things. Let them do that. Develop them in such a way. Cause them to become better and grow in so many areas and become their own fingerprint. Don't make them be you. That's not what leaders do. Leaders don't make or force people to be them and duplicate themselves. What they do is work themselves out of a job, but they allow their personality to be on it. Many ways to get to Florida from here. To go to Orlando, to Disney World, many different avenues. People have to choose that avenue. The ultimate goal is that we end up in Disney World, right? That's the whole purpose of development or process of development, is allowing them to choose what benefits them, what mirrors them, and what defines them. I am not leading people to be just more Terrys. I want people to be them. I want Felix to be Felix. I want Stacy to be Stacy. I want Elijah to be Elijah, and so on goes the list. I don't want them to be me. I want them to be them, but I'm going to be the one that helps them become that. And I get that, and I understand that. And that's what developing people do. This is how you develop. This is Terry's take on how to develop people. Number one, as the leader, you have to cast a clear vision. You have to point the vision, not necessarily the plan, but the vision. This is where we're going. This is what it should look like. This is what I want. This is how we do this. And then once we've casted the vision, the second thing is you got to allow for their plan to be developed. They've got to develop a plan in their area of expertise to go there. Not my plan, their plan. My staff knows is they want to ask my input, my opinion, and my approval. Most of the time it's like, I don't care. I don't care how we get there. I do care, but the reality is if it's always the way I want to do it, then they'll never become who God's created them to be. They'll never be the leader that God wants them to be because they're just operating under my umbrella. My umbrella is the vision. My trust in them to get it done. They have to develop the plan. The third thing is, so look, you got to cast a vision, allow them to develop the plan. The third thing is you have to hesitate to intervene in non-damaging decisions. You got to hesitate. Whoa. Don't do it because you'll never develop them. The development process happens in failures, not in successes. Until you learn what it looks like to fail, you'll never understand how to make better decisions. If every decision we ever made was always right, then there's no sense in development. That we don't need leadership. Leadership is there so when we don't know how to do, we get out of it. Cast vision, allow them to make the plan, hesitate to intervene. Watch the failure happen. Sit back, fold your arms, get a bowl of popcorn, watch it happen. That's a hard thing for everybody to do. But the reality is in that failure, they're going to grow more than they are in every success that is around them. The next thing is you got to celebrate the victory publicly. Let everybody know they did an amazing job. They did a wonderful job. They pulled this thing off. They did it. We just did a purity conference here at our church back in November, and I celebrated everybody was under the age of 28 that was leading. I did it from the pulpit. Why? Purposely, so that every one of them people understood. I saw their success, publicly promoted all those leaders. Why? Because now they feel that trust. They feel the belief from that leader in them, and it develops them. Can I say this? Privately correct the wrong decisions with great precision. Privately correct those wrong decisions with such precision as a surgeon would to not affect all the other areas of that person. Just deal with the wrong decision, but don't do it publicly. Do it privately. And listen, the last thing I'm going to say today about developing people. Look, you got to cast clear vision. You got to allow them to make the plan. You got to hesitate to intervene. You got to watch the failure happen. Celebrate publicly their victories. Privately correct the wrong decisions. And here's the last one. Watch this. Allow them to fail again. Just keep allowing them to fail. Fail forward. I've heard people say it. Fail forward. Fail often, but fail forward. Don't go backwards. Don't stay as you are. Allow them to fail again. This is what development looks like to me. You got to go through the process of that. If you want people to want to follow you, cause people to follow you, develop people around you, you've got to go through certain things such as this. This is my list. You can make your own list, but the reality is these are the key things that it means to develop people. That's my challenge for you today. Don't just be a boss. Don't just be a leader that has a position and casts a vision. Be a leader that develops people, that pulls the best out of people, that causes people to become better than you are. That's my thought today. I call you blessed. Thanks for joining me. Till next week, have an amazing week.